my gosh, I'm really falling. These leaves are so slippery, there's ice under them. So I've gotten some questions about adult onset Still's disease, so I figured I'd do like a little Q&A about adult onset Still's disease. So first of all, what is it? It's a systemic autoinflammatory disease or autoinflammatory arthritis. And for me, it's presented with like a lot of different symptoms because it is systemic. It can affect pretty much anything in the body. So I've had very intense fevers that kind of like, they go on like a like scheduled fevers, and so like worse in the evenings, but some people experience them differently. Joint and muscle pain, and joint and muscle inflammation, inflamed organs. So like for me, my spleen in the beginning was really quite inflamed, and they really didn't understand why at first. Extreme nausea and dizziness. I had like this ridiculous rash, and we just could not figure out why I had it for like quite a while. And then it turned out, well, because the skin is like an organ, that the rash was just my skin being inflamed. So that was fun. And like really intense brain fog, which the more I'm in front of the camera, which I don't know how much I'll do this, but you'll probably notice that. What was my first sign or symptom? We disagree on this, but my husband thinks fatigue, and I think that it was my inflammation being higher than normal. So my CRP, where it should be under 10, it was sitting around 60 for quite a while, like before my initial actual onset of Still's disease. And so once it really took hold, it reached like 260, possibly over 3. Like, I don't really remember. It was a really rough time, and I don't have a lot of recollection from when I was really, really sick. It got pretty bad. But yeah. And then the salmon rash, I had that for quite a while, and we really couldn't figure out why. We thought I was allergic to stuff. We thought I was, like, we just couldn't figure out why it was there. But figuring out my adult onset Still's disease has helped with that a lot. What tests helped determine that it was adult onset Still's disease as opposed to something else? So basically, adult onset Still's disease is a diagnosis of exclusion, and so we had to test for everything else. So there was a lot of blood work involved. We had x-rays, we had contrast dye CTs. Yeah, we had to eliminate a lot of different things to get to adult onset Still's disease. I kind of like the quote, "When you have eliminated all which is impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth." Arthur Conan Doyle. I like that because like even now I'll go to like medical professionals for whatever reason, and if it's a new one, they'll look at me and be like, "You don't have that." And I'll be like, "Okay, well, give me a different diagnosis." Like, well, we've got the wind. Oh my gosh. I'll try to film this, and hopefully the mic's not just totally caught up with the wind, but yeah, I'll be like, well, you know, if you can find some other explanation for all of this, please, by all means, because if it's something that's a little bit more reasonable, fixable, I would love that. It would make my life much easier. I'm not set on having adult onset Still's disease. It's not what I'd like to have. It's just what I have. And usually after that, they're like, "Oh, okay, well, you know," they kind of can go through my file and see what all was looked at and what all was looked through. And I mean, there's not really a lot more they can try to diagnose me with. And so it, again, however improbable, that's kind of what it is at this point. So That's how the diagnosis process, at least for me, was. Is there a Still's disease support group? There are. I've found, first of all, Facebook has quite a few different adult onset Still's disease support groups. If you look it up in the search bar, you'll find, sorry, I just have to get more comfortable. You'll find there are support groups for adult onset Still's disease. Also, Breika's Life, BREIKA' Life, on YouTube. She's another YouTuber. She also has adult onset Still's disease, and she's got some content that's kind of geared towards it. And it just kind of shows her living her life with adult onset Still's disease, and she's been a really wonderful person for me to watch. I've also found, looking up people on Instagram, there's lots of Instagrammers that have content that show their life with adult onset Still's disease. And you know, if you're interested in following people, just look for it. It's there. You can follow me on Instagram. I've got some. You can kind of see some of how it affects me. There'll be more in the future. But just, if you look for it, it is out there. If you search, just search it and you should find it. If you know of any resources, if I haven't touched on it, if you know support groups, feel free to leave comments in the comments below so that other people can look through them and find those resources. I'll try to link more in my description, as well as to like YouTubers and Instagrammers. As I come in contact with them, I'll try to leave those in my description so that you know where to go to look. Is it contagious or genetic? Neither. It's idiopathic. It's got no reason. It just does what it wants when it wants, to who it wants, however it wants. Just, it is what it is. To the best of my understanding and my medical professionals' understanding, it is what it is. They did think for the first while that I had the measles, and so I was under quarantine for a while, but then they realized that I didn't have the measles. Again, diagnosis of elimination, so that was one of the things we eliminated. But once that was ruled out, I was taken out of quarantine and just in the hospital as a normal patient, not under quarantine or anything like that, and it was all right. Where would I go to find more information, or where would you go to find more information? I recommend mayoclinic.org, so MAYOCLINIC.org, or speak with your rheumatologist, speak with your general practitioner, your family doctor, get a referral to a rheumatologist, find one of the support groups on Facebook, really just talk to other people with Still's disease. You know, they'll hopefully be able to point you in the right direction. I'll leave the Mayo Clinic link and article in the description below. And again, if anybody has more resources that they feel were really helpful for them during their initial stages of diagnosis or even now, please leave them in the comments below. So what is the difference between adult onset versus childhood onset? So there's actually a name difference. For childhood onset, it's systemic juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and that's for if you're diagnosed under the age of 16. And then for adults or people over 16, it's adult onset Still's disease. It's a little less common for the adult onset from my understanding, but clinically there's not a huge amount of difference, again, from my understanding. There might be different information than I have out there, but from the information that I have, they're very similar. The biggest difference is the age of onset. What have I changed in my life in regards to Still's disease since COVID hit? And so with that, I don't see anybody outside of my family unit, which includes my husband. If I do see anyone, we're well masked up. We try to sanitize very well. We, you know, if we go grocery shopping, we typically try to do pickup orders. Mainly because I don't know, if I get COVID, I don't know how it's gonna affect me. I don't know how it's gonna affect my immune system. I don't know. But I also don't know if I would just end up being a really effective silent spreader, because I haven't always gotten really sick with like things other than my Still's disease. So if I get like the common cold, I don't always get really sick from it. And so I don't know if I would just be a really effective silent spreader. And so I don't want to go around spreading it to everybody. So yeah, I really don't interact with a lot of people. That's been the main difference. I'm looking forward to the vaccine becoming available for me, and becoming available for more people so that it's as effective as possible. And hopefully, eventually, that can change. But yeah, I don't know. So how has adult onset Still's disease affected my mental health? So especially in the beginning, and even now, it's been a pretty big struggle. I want to do a lot of things, but realistically, I can't do most of what I used to be able to do, and that's been a huge adjustment for me. So I am learning to find new things that I can enjoy and be passionate about, and I get to share some of those things with you, and with my loved ones and other people at a distance, and that's been all right. And yeah, and then what do I do to support my physical and my mental health with adult onset Still's disease? And so especially in the beginning, I found a counselor that I really liked, that worked really well with me, was really just worked well with the situation, and she was just amazingly helpful and amazing, just kind of with helping me accept everything that was going on that I had just no control over. And then I also work with, as far as my physical health, I work with a physiotherapist, I work with massage therapist, I also work with a chiropractor, and work with them, and I work with them along with my team of doctors. And so far it's been helpful, and I share some of my physio health and stuff like that with you guys, and I plan to continue doing that in the future. And yeah. If you have any questions that you'd like to see in a future video, whether it's about adult onset Still's disease or just about me or life or really anything, leave them in the comments below, or you can head over to my Instagram, stills.maggie.mc, Mick, I guess. And if you have any resources that you found really helpful with adult onset Still's disease in the early stages or even now in your diagnosis, please leave those below so that other people can access them. And if you're a creator that puts out content and you have adult onset Still's disease, feel free to leave your links or your information in the comments below so people can find you. When I was first diagnosed, it was a really difficult time for me, and just the sense of community and the people out there with adult onset Still's disease and seeing how they continued to live their life even with it, it was really helpful. And in the beginning it felt like a really catastrophic thing that had happened to my life, and you know, as I continue on with it, it feels less and less catastrophic every day. And I'm pretty grateful for that. Yeah, and so anyways, that's all. If you like this, feel free to like it and subscribe, and if you didn't, well, that's also okay. I don't know. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.